let's take a look at the lyrics of this song. I would like to do that. Oh, they might wear classic Reeboks. And then can we talk about his accent? How Alex Turner's accent has changed so much over the years, right? I still love hearing his like weird Sheffield drawl from the early days, you know what I mean? I really, really, really still like that. Okay. So as I was saying, I feel like this song and the album, the intro to the song coming into this, and then the album as a whole, and the, you know, lyrical content, the narrative content of the song as a whole, like sets you up to like think about, the scene, what it's like to be a young adult or late teenager in trying to live your life and maybe even do music and stuff like in that era in the mid to late mid 2000s, and comes right up in here with some commentary about the scene, you know what I mean? They might wear classic Reeboks or knackered Converse or tracky bottoms tucked in socks, but that's what the point is not. The point is there ain't no romance around there, right? So like, what does this even mean at this point? Like, because the song's called A Certain Romance. And so then he says romance here, and you're like, okay, I'm getting the sense he's not necessarily strictly talking about romance as in like love or anything like that. There's a very solid chance he's talking about something else, right? The point, all of that is what the point is not. The point is there's no romance around it. Wow, what does that even mean, right? Like, he's kind of saying there's like a uniform, right? Like whatever scene that they're playing around with, whatever scene this is, whatever part of town this is, whatever you want to say, there's kind of a uniform. There's a culture that people are trying to play into. You know what I mean? All of that is what the point is not. The point is there's no romance around there. Not only are they scuffed, they also have no passion. Hey, yeah. The truth is that they can't see. They'd like to throw a punch at me, and if you could only see him, then you would agree. All right. I think I love this little line, this kind of like pivot line, just again as a poet talking about the poetry of Arctic Monkeys lyrics that, you know, the truth that they can't see. Oh, and there's the truth that they can't see. I'm not going to tell you what the truth is. Yes. They'd probably like to throw a punch at me, right? Why do they like to throw a punch at you? Well, because you're calling them out on the truth, right? You're calling out their shit. Now he's poising himself as the narrator saying, yeah, all those people that I'm kind of criticizing, making fun of, they don't like me because they don't like that I am calling them out, right? It's still interesting because like there is the possibility of an unreliable narrator, right? Like maybe he's judgmental. I don't know. Who knows, right? But this little pivot line, right? If you could only see him, you would agree. I love this pivot line because it's like, how does this line relate to that line? Right? It's like you could perceive and interpret this as, yeah, man, if only you could see them, you'd agree that you like to throw a punch at me, right? It's kind of like, yeah, maybe I deserve it. Maybe I deserve the hate I'm getting, right? But then at the same time, how does this line compare or relate to this line down here? Ah, oh, maybe that's what I'm agreeing with, that there's no romance around there, right? So, right? I mean, it is great poetry, right? It's great lyric writing that, yeah, like there's no romance around there, right? These guys, they're all just copying each other, kind of wearing all the same uniforms, right? There's no romance. I really like it the way that Stray Brat said, right? They have no passion, right? There's no passion around here. Everyone's just kind of copying each other. There's no genuine, no authenticity, right? But that's the thing. You'd agree what? That I'm an asshole who's judging them, or agree that, yeah, you know what? There is no passion around there. There is no love, right? Yeah, exactly. If you could only see them, yeah, they blend in so much. That's true too. I like that. Ezekias, I very much appreciate your perspective and your questions. Honestly, they've been really interesting to discuss. And yeah, keep. I hope you keep hanging out and keep having interesting things to contribute. Stray Brat, I see you're Arctic Monkey's lyrical fiend. I can tell you know these lyrics better than me. So it's a funny thing, Well, tell them if you like. Tell them all tonight. They'll never listen. Their minds are made up, right? Well, they'll never. It doesn't matter if I tell them, guys. Where's your passion for, trying to be original? Where's your authenticity to yourselves or to the music or to whatever? You're all just kind of, you know, blending in with each other, right? And they'll never listen. It doesn't matter how many times you try to change their mind. If somebody's already got their minds made up, you can't talk to them, right? Tell them if you like. Hey, hell yeah, man, we'll tell them all tonight. What I think is really, really, really cool about this chorus, what's really interesting about this chorus is it kind of puts you in this, it kind of lets you know that you're kind of in media rays in regards to this conversation, right? Like Alex Turner, the narrator, is speaking directly to the audience. Alex Turner, the narrator, speaking directly to the audience, telling him all this stuff, right? And he's getting to the point where he's saying like, "Hey man, listen, I've already tried. By the time you and I are having this conversation about these people that we're kind of criticizing, judging, passing judgment on, I have already tried. I've been thinking about this a long time, and I have already tried to talk to them about it because I probably would have considered many of them my peers, right? Maybe I was even trying to help them in one way or another. Or maybe I was just being a shithead, Sheffield teenage brat calling them out. Who knows, right? But the point is, I have already tried, and I've learned they'll never listen. Their minds are made up. They'll never listen, right? And he's already tried and done it as much that like he's already come to terms like, and you know what? Fine, they can be that way if they'd like, right? There's so much like sass and history just in this lyric and the way that he sets this up. By the time we're even having this song, he's like, this ain't my first rodeo. I have been down that path and back again, right? But I'm happy that you now, the audience, are joining me, right? Joining me in this. Like he's slyly looking over his shoulder and be just like, these guys, right? I'll show you, kid. I'll show you, right? There's like a weird cinematic, like almost like video game aspect to it. It's very interesting. Cause over there, there's broken bones. There's only music so that there's new ringtones. Oh man, I love this line. There's broken bones. There's only music, so there's new ringtones. Um, you know what they say, like history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it often rhymes, right? And so it's so funny. I mean, this song came out in 2006, right? And look, there's only music so that there's no ringtones. There's only music. 2006, there's only music so there's new ringtones. 2020s, there's only music so there's new TikToks. There's only music so there's new TikTok songs to dance to for people to like make memes about and all kinds of things to make their aesthetic little lives come true, right? It's like saying back, I mean, it's funny, 2006, really, that was like kind of the beginning of the end for the record industry as we knew it for the majority of the 20th century. And you already see it here that they already were like, music is just treated like a product. It's not treated as an art. People are only engaging with music as it can, bolster and you know, supplement their lives. You know what I mean? As opposed to like treating it and understanding it as art, right? Music is something to sell, not something to create. And I like how that plays with all this stuff. Since that's what music is about, since that's what music is about, then that's what all these people are doing. They're all wearing this uniform because they're trying to make it big or something. I don't know. There's broken bones, right? It's kind of like people are getting into fights, perhaps, right? I don't know. Maybe I could think about that one a little bit harder if we'd like. Or maybe we could just move on, right? Maybe there's over there in that place, there's broken bones and only music, so there's new ringtones, right? Stray Brad, I doubt he wanted to help them. It sounds like beef. I agree, right? I agree. There's definitely beef now. Maybe there wasn't before. I don't know, man, but so many different ways to interpret it, right? It don't take no Sherlock Holmes to see it's a little different around here, right? I mean, that's just a good rhyme, right? You don't gotta be, it's so interesting by saying it don't take no Sherlock Holmes to see it's a little different around here. By saying you don't gotta be Sherlock Holmes, you don't even have to be that smart to see what's going on. By saying that, He is saying all of these people, all these guys are dumb. You got, like in the second verse, he's throwing insults, he's throwing dirt at the people he talked about in the first verse. Because we've been through all this before, he knows these people, right? And especially because this kind of starting this second verse with the cuz, I mean, that's the beginning of a dependent clause grammatically, lyrically, right? So you know that this is a continuation, right? This isn't even necessarily a new paragraph, a new chapter. A lot of times a verse two or a bridge or things like that is like a new chapter or a new paragraph, something like this. But because he starts it here with this cause, you can tell, no, well, I'm not done yet. I'm continuing the story, right? This is all a continuation, right? Yeah. So don't get me wrong though. There's boys and bands and kids who scrap with pool cues in their hands, right? Like he's saying, like it's a little different around here. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like there's still all the normal cliche stuff that you'd see. And just because he's had a couple of cans, he thinks it's all right to act like a dickhead, right? So I mean, again, just he's still just sock talking shit about all these guys up here, right? Just it's so funny to me that really once we're looking at this that the whole album is about the scene and the nightlife of Sheffield and that town and that like little scrappy urban working class city in the mid 2000s. That's what this whole album is about. And now in this closing song, the closing track of the album, he's just talking shit about the whole scene. You know, he's kind of done with it. He's like, I've seen it. I see you guys. I see through you. I see what it's like. I see how you guys are all acting all the same dumb way, right? Oh, no, yeah, they're all acting the same dumb way. There's the kids in the bands. There's the kids who are fighting, broken bones, right? Scrapping with pool cues in their hands, right? Maybe they're gambling or they're wasting their time. Maybe he's saying they're wasting their time playing these games, right? He's saying these fucking idiots like they're just getting drunk and fighting with each other, right? Like all these assholes, he's seeing right through them. So there's just got no romance. They got no romance for the music. They got no romance for the people around each other. You know what I mean? It's got no romance for maybe the town, the community, the scene. It's very, very, very vivid. What are people saying? That's what I'm not. Gives off the party vibe, and this song ends the album. It's the dawn after the hangover, dude. That's so true. This is the dawn after the hangover. I don't think any other band does final tracks as well as the Arctic Monkeys. Um, Arctic Monkeys do frequently nail their closing tracks. Absolutely true. Um, and it's so funny, right? Like, let's see here. He's, I don't know. He's saying it's a little different around here. So much of it is the same, but it's a little different. I mean, what do you guys think that is? What do you think he's trying to say is a little different? Let me think here. Let me read through this a little bit. That there's no romance? I mean, maybe that's what he's saying, right? It's a little different around here, right? People are not, they don't really care about themselves. They don't care about their peers, their community. They don't care about their town. They don't care about, maybe that's the thing, right? Because I think that's what romance means, right? In this case, right? Passion for music, passion for the community, passion for the scene, passion for the people around them. That maybe that's the thing that's different. It's like at least in all over the world or even in different parts of Sheffield, maybe if it's a different neighborhood, different part of town, or maybe a different city entirely. And everywhere else, like people, even though they act the same, that at the very least in other places there's some romance, there's some care, there's some passion. All these guys are already burnouts. They're on are burnouts, they're deadbeats already, right? Maybe in other places they people act like dickheads and they fight and they scrap and there's music and there's boys and bands with big dreams, right? But a lot of those people aren't deadbeats, but here they're deadbeats, you know what I mean? He's looking back at the culture that he is a part of with disdain. Wow. So scrappy. So sassy. And don't you know, it's a funny thing, you know. We'll tell them if you like. We'll tell them all tonight, they'll never listen. Because their minds are made up, and cause it's all okay to carry on that way, right? He's just saying the same thing again in that first verse, like saying, ah, but you, the person I'm speaking to, I'll show you the ropes. I'll show you. Hey, don't worry about it. I know that you are seeing what I'm seeing. That you too feel a similar way about this vibe and this scene and these people that I do. But I'll tell you what, I've been up and down that road before. Don't even try it. Don't even worry about it. Or even like, oh, sure, if you want. But he's saying, and I'll never change their minds, and I'm done trying. I don't think he's saying it's all okay to carry on that way, like genuinely. I don't think he's saying, oh yeah, but you can live your life that way. No, I think he's saying like it's not worth my time to try to change their minds and kind of being sad. Like if they want to live that way, then that's their choice, not mine, right? Very, very, very interesting. Very sexy. I like it. But I said, no, you won't get me to go. Not anywhere. Not anywhere. I won't go. Oh no. And I love this last verse, right? Here we go. Well, over there's friends of mine. What can I say? I've known them for a long, long time. Yeah, they might overstep the line, but you just cannot get angry in the same way. Not in the same way, not in the same way. So, what is he saying at the very end here with this? He is saying that he literally has friends, and since, well, they're friends of his, then maybe he acts the same way, right? Maybe he also does that, right? So, well, he cannot get angry in the same way in regards to what? Well, I can't get angry at my friends when they act like this, right? My friends, and by proxy or by association, right? Maybe me, I also act this way. I also do this. Me and my friends, we also play the game and we act like dickheads. And we also are boys in bands. And we have a couple of cans and act like a dickhead. And we too sometimes try to fit in with our outfits and everything. And maybe we as well are trying, we're looking for love in the wrong places, looking for passion and success in the wrong places. Maybe we too sometimes get caught up in this trap. And you know what? Maybe we've also got our minds made up. I don't know. But the point is, he's saying he's kind of he's being self-aware here and kind of calling out his own hypocrisy here of just like all of this stuff, this bad stuff that I had to say about this scene, this community, this city, these people. I'm one of them. I act like this too. My friends act like this too, and we do this. But you know what? I'm aware of the fact that I don't get mad at myself and my friends for this. I'm having that self-awareness and that lucidity to say, huh, maybe it's not fair that I give myself and my friends a pass on these things, right? Like why am I allowed to forgive myself and excuse myself and my friends for acting this way when I look at all these people and I am like, what the fuck, right? There's a consideration, a contemplation of the hypocrisy here, right? He's being self-aware of that hypocrisy and he's contemplating. And maybe it is that self-reflection that leads him to change these things, right? Maybe it's in writing this song and recognizing, man, I am guilty of all the things that I would judge from all these other people. I'm a hypocrite. That can be the impetus to change and try harder. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like, man, all these people are dressing the same, writing the same kind of songs. There's no passion. And shit, man, me and my friends do that too. So maybe we should change that, right? I think and that's just to say all in this one song, right? It's just like I hate this town, I hate this city, I hate this community, I hate this scene, but gosh dang well if I ain't a part of it. You know what I mean? It's just so interesting. And it's especially interesting not only just because of this one song itself, but also, because of what this represents for the whole album. this final verse is not just the final verse of the song. This final verse is also the final verse of the whole album. The whole album that, as we said before, we spent discussing and contemplating and exploring the scene and the life that these people were living in that time and place, right? And so he's looking back on this whole song saying, yeah, but you know what? Hell, I do it too. I'm also guilty. He's not just looking back on this song, he's looking back on the whole album. He's looking at the whole album all the way back saying, this, I just spent a whole album talking shit about all this stuff and passing judgments and all these things. But man, me too. I do all this too. I'm looking back and seeing all of my observations and my reflections on things. They apply to me as well, right? So it's almost like going through the journey of this album is a catharsis, maybe even a metamorphosis for him, where at the end he realizes what he learned through the self-expression and the self-exploration of writing the album about all this stuff, right? That certain romance. It is just very, very, very fascinating. I mean, these are great lyrics in so many ways. You know what I mean? Um, they're clever, they're vivid. They're also, I mean, who can't agree with some of these things? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we all know somebody who's a dickhead because they've had a bit too much. We all know people who are just chasing the latest fashion trends, right? We all know that I just cannot get angry in the same way at other people, at my friends and stuff. And we all know people who'll never listen because their minds are made up and you just gotta live and let live, right? So it is very, very, very specific, but he does say it in this song in such a way that's like, yeah, we can all find ourselves and see ourselves and our scene in this song. It's great. It's fantastic. Thoughts, opinions? Turner's the best lyricist of the 21st century. Suck and See. I love Suck and See. I was actually talking to earlier how Suck and See I think is very, very underrated. Um, Suck and See super underrated. I loved that album. Some of those lyrics are crazy. In such an interesting way. Like the Hellcat Spangled Sha La La La, some of those lyrics, I'm just like, whoa, what? The song Suckin' and See, that's not a skirt girl, it's a son of shock on it, and I can only hope you've got it aimed at me. Mwah. Horny Alex Turner, still a poet. It's a good song. I wanna listen to it again, actually. Ba, 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 da, 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 like, man, like I was saying, we know this whole album and this song is talking about a scene, a city, a community. And man, if this arrangement doesn't sound like a scene, a city, a community, like bustling with life, it's perfect musical representation of that, you know? I love the change, like this like Hemiola feel that Matt Helders goes to with the drums on this one. Because it takes us from this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, to in the chorus he kind of does this like he kind of almost feels like it's one long drum fill. Honestly, it's like a whole chorus of drum fill, and it's a really great change in feel that does kind of feel like it is symbolizing and signifying the change, right? From kind of looking out, like in the verses, we're looking out into the scene and like kind of making observations and discussing. And then it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like looking externally, but then in the choruses, he's kind of like turning internally and maybe he's talking to the narrators now, kind of more looking directly and speaking directly to us or thinking internally or this way, that like that external internal, you know, perspectival, like where is the camera pointed kind of thing, where is the content being directed towards. The way we change that lyrically between the verse and the chorus is also followed by the way that now in the drums it feels like it's totally shifting our framing of the whole thing too, that really helps you feel in this chorus like we're kind of talking about things differently and things are changing, right? And that, I know that seems like a obvious classic songwriting thing, but you'd be surprised how many songs are not very good at doing that, actually, who don't do that well. And this is especially not in this way, so it's still really great. Right, and then also the change here again with the drums and everything. A lot of the instruments are the same, but that drum beat suddenly makes it feel like now he's having a moment of frankness, right? With that snare hitting all these different ways. There's like the amount of sass, the amount of this, the amount of that. But now when we get to here, and we just have this much more like stripped down groove, where again, like so much of it is exactly the same. You know, a lot of them, the guitars, the bass line is the same, but now the drums are kind of zooming in and having more of like a soliloquy, like self-reflection moment here. Again, it feels like it. The music feels like it. It really sets the scene very well to really put you, the listener, in the proper place to hear these lyrics and get the right meaning of them. You know, that's lucidity here, right? Of like, whoa, now that all the noise is over, I can like look up and see things for how they are. It's great. It's perfect. Well, and also he does like a minor four there. Cannot get angry in the same way. He does a minor four there, which kind of lets you know maybe he's like a little bit sad about it. He's kind of saying sad, like there's a bit of like sadness or self-reflection and something like that, or just recognizing something's off, something's not right about that, right? The intersection of the music and the lyrics. It's great. It's phenomenal. Woo! Great song. Love it.